All right. This is my final project in psychology, and I chose to do it on schizophrenia. If schizophrenia had a nickname, it would be misunderstood. That's because it's every shade of complicated. And to confuse matters more, each of its symptoms appear in at least one other psychiatric disorder. The easiest way to make sense of it is to say what it's not. So schizophrenia is not characterized by split or multiple personalities or the extreme shifts in mood that come with bipolar disorder. And people with schizophrenia aren't prone to violence or genius for that matter. People with schizophrenia experience what's called a psychotic break, which is the onset of psychosis. It's when their mind is overtaken by hallucinations and or delusions that make it hard to know what's real and what's not. But while the word break sounds sudden, symptoms of schizophrenia don't happen in a single traumatic event or moment. Instead, they are usually gradual and progress for years, and they can be easy to miss until they're impossible to ignore. Dun, dun, dun. I love these pictures. So these two paintings right here, these are actually drawn from people with schizophrenia. So there's positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. The positive are delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, grossly disorganized, or catatonic behavior. Negative symptoms are absence or loss of normal functioning, social withdrawal, or blunted emotion, like laughing at a funeral. Schizophrenia affects approximately 2.4 million adult Americans. It also occurs more in men than in women. So here is the positive side of it, and here's the negative side of it. Social withdrawal, difficulty paying attention, apathy, lack of feeling emotion or interest that may show up as poor personal hygiene, difficulty speaking in part due to limited vocabulary, inability to use detail when communicating. The cause. So if you're looking for something to tell teens of why they should not smoke marijuana, this is why. There's a pretty striking evidence that marijuana use, especially in younger teens, is associated with increased risk for schizophrenia in a dose response way. The more the use, the higher the risk, says Dr. Margolis. Though the exact reason isn't yet understood, he points to timing and what's happening in the brain at that age. The brain doesn't reach its full maturity until the late teens, early 20s. And so there are a number of important biologic processes underway, says Dr. Margolis. The presumption is that somewhere marijuana is interfering with the process. It affects the neurotransmitters that give signals to your brain, and marijuana does not help with that. So I mean, I'm not saying that every teen that smokes it is going to get schizophrenia. Obviously that number is not huge, but the number of cannabis use that does turn into schizophrenia though is becoming more apparent, apparently. And what would be the cure of that? The cure of that would be actually medication. You're going to end up on medication. Risperidone is a prescription medicine used in the treatment of schizophrenia and mania. It is also used to treat bipolar disorders. It works by modifying the action of certain chemical messengers in the brain that affect thoughts. Scientists believe that people with schizophrenia have an imbalance of the brain chemicals or neurotransmitters, dopamine, glutamate, and serotonin. These neurotransmitters allow nerve cells in the brain to send messages to each other. Okay. And therapy. So medication and therapy, this is what you want to do to treat schizophrenia. You can go see Sarah, the addiction counselor. You can see Dan, the psychologist. You can see Lynn, the psychiatrist. Darren, the school's counselor. But most importantly, the one that's going to get you where you need to be is talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor about the symptoms and be honest. Conclusion: some people with schizophrenia are very guarded and suspicious of everything as part of their illness, so they won't reveal what they're thinking. Or they can be so thought disordered that they won't be able to communicate what they've experienced or how they behave. That's why it's vitally important to obtain information from outside informants. Interesting. And there's my sources.